All right, Brandon.
Hello, Mark.
Here we are again. It's been a little while.
Yeah,
Some
we missed. We usually try and do it every couple weeks,
yeah,
and
we're trying to get two out a month.
mhm.
Just if you're listening to this, regularly, you're like, okay, well, what's their
Yeah,
baseline?
sure. What
What
schedule do they have?
and we try to get two out a month. Most of the time we record two whenever we sit down, and then just spread them out, spread the love. So, um,
And we're still going to try that. It's just that the last few months, there's been a few events or stuff that we haven't been able to record as often.
yeah, just had the holidays.
Yeah.
So, how was your holidays? No.
How was your happy Thanksgiving? Right.
Hey, you better not have had it, man. Because
Yeah.
if you were with your family,
wait,
you're
no.
the turkey. Okay. So anyway, let's not get into any of that.
Yeah.
But today we're going more about some of the things that other things we wanted to talk about, and I think we talked about it in the last.
Well, last time we skipped ahead a little bit because we wanted to finish the story with Nimrod.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, that was the whole. Yeah, because we wanted to at least have make you have to wait when it was so epic.
yeah, and so we talked about we jumped ahead all the way to the Esau and Jacob timeline.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we
And
did. That was like yeah.
That's like and the actual like chronologically that's way ahead of where we're going to go back to today.
Yeah.
So that was just because Nimrod was cool and we wanted to finish him up. But a lot of things happened, and we're going to go back and address those things.
Yeah, some of the different things. The story is different in Jasher, and that's one of the reasons we like it is because there's more explanation. What's up,
Brandon? Go a little bit this way. We forgot to check that part. Anyways.
Oh yeah.
So
Oops.
yeah, and
well,
I think we'll cover
today,
one of the most popular stories because a few of the things that we talked about aren't like found in the standard. If there was a book called Bible Stories, several of the things we talked about so far would not have been in it.
Yeah, they're not even like the whole. Well, they'd be in it, but not with the detail.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. You're right.
So anyway, I think this is one of the big ones we're going to do on the cities of the plains.
Cities of the
like
plains.
Tattoo said. Cities of the plains, boss. The plain. Okay.
Every once in a while, someone mentions that line.
That's
you instantly know that they're at least 35 years old or 40
or
years
old or 40,
yeah.
probably in their 40s if they've seen.
At the minimum,
yeah.
Because I was a little kid when that was.
Yeah, I remember that show was pretty boring.
Just the beginning.
But we would
the
watch
beginning
it
was the only cool part when the plane
would
come in,
and then Tattoo's running out. The plane and the music and stuff. Well, okay. Well, let's start off. So anyway, we're going to do Sodom and Gommorah, story on Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, yeah.
But first, I have a little treat.
Oh my gosh!
I've been sitting on these for a while. I got them at
Cracker Barrel.
No. I got them at Total Wine. I think.
Total Wine. Okay.
So we got the Saranac Black Cherry Cream. I was like, ooh, cream.
And it's world famous. You know what? Black cherry is one of my favorite flavors, and I always like cream sodas.
Yeah.
I never see a black cherry cream.
No. Yeah.
This is profound.
So, well, we'll see.
Oh, watch out for that condensation there.
Yeah. So this does have a twist off top.
Does it?
I mean, you don't have to.
You know what's funny is to me, twist off
Sometimes they're harder.
Off caps still like.
Yeah.
I work on computers for a living, and so my hands are very like weak.
Soft hands.
Yeah, like I can't hold my own. I can't hold my own with my hands. I'm all cutting it because I can't do it right.
Gosh dang it, Brandon! You screwed it up.
It's this bottle opener.
It is actually. It's a cheap bottle opener, but
Oh, you know what it is? I think I did it wrong. I think you have to do it a certain direction.
Apart. No, it's just not. It's because it broke.
Okay. Wow, have you had these yet?
Mm-mm.
What a find!
It's
not as strong as
the
cream. Not as strong as some black cherry drinks are.
Yeah,
but the cream kind of like yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read that?
What?
Back in the 1920s, one of the ways our brewery survived prohibition was by making soft drinks. We made a lot of flavors, but one of the most popular was black cherry cream, using the recipe we made 80 years ago. Oh.
Wait, there's no alcohol in this?
What?
What?
That's pretty cool. Saranac, 1888.
Well, there you go. Where are they from? Anyway. Well, this one's... It's okay. I've had better black cherry sodas.
Same here. After a few drinks, you start to go, okay, it's not as like profound as the first drink.
Yeah, and for me, I'd have more black cherry flavor and more cream flavor.
So the claim that this is the same recipe for 80 years ago, but yet there's high fructose corn syrup in it.
Calling BS on this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I believe it.
Guys, how about you use real freaking sugar? Because that's a whole political thing.
Yeah, that thing that happened in the 70s doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the subsidization of corn. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. And so you can jump back to regular types of sweeteners. You don't have to do this anymore. But I don't think that anybody was using high fructose corn syrup in the 20s.
No, they weren't.
It's a pretty good drink, but yeah.
I wonder. Anyway, so there you go. So there's that.
We should just start a soda podcast and talk about soda. Talk about like obscure.
We're gonna have a taste off between.
That'd be good.
I've already talked to Tanya about it, and she said that she'd put them in glasses so we can tell and everything. Because I was like, okay, as far as I'm concerned, for ginger beers, the two best are tops. Our go-tos are Goslings and Cock and Bull.
Those are good, and I think that those are close enough where it would be a challenge.
Yeah, or that. Yeah, like if we did a blind taste test, we could
exactly
have and find out finally which one's the one.
There'd be a challenge, and that's the thing. If one of those was like a fever tree, then it would be like, I would be able to tell, this is the fever tree.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's different enough.
Mm-hmm.
Good, that's cool. That'll be exciting. I can't wait.
So, but okay, so that's our taste test for today. Oh dang it! There's like a little rust on the. This always happen.
You know what? I tasted rust on that. What was it? The hops drink?
Yeah, I know.
I don't have any.
Well, must be nice, Brandon. Okay, so today we're going into the old city of the plains, or the cities of the plains. There's 5 of them.
I love the cities of the plains.
And Sodom, which are collectively called Sodom and Gommorah, because those are the 2 biggest ones, I guess.
Yeah. And
we talked about them, that Abraham, or Abram at the time, or no, it was Abraham. Well, whoever he was, had gone and rescued.
You're trying to figure out whether he was called Abraham or not yet?
Yeah, and it's fine. But he had gone and rescued his nephew Lot and everybody else from the people, from Nimrod, and who was the other guy?
Cheddar
Leomer. From
I can't remember the cheddar, obviously.
Yeah, cheddar is always
cheese.
better.
The big cheese was there.
So they had attacked him, and they had drug him off, and then Abraham came and rescued him, and then that's whenever after that he made offerings to the king of Salem.
Yes.
Which was Adonizedek, and in the Bible it's Melchizedek, who was the king of Jerusalem in the Bible, I think.
Yep. Well, And I think it does say at one point Salem. Before it says Jerusalem, it does say Salem.
Yeah.
Melchizedek was the king of Salem. In the
Yeah.
Bible. Yeah.
And this is part of the reason, in my opinion. Okay. Well, okay. So this is just an idea, but you always hear about Abraham's going to have all these kids and inherit Canaan, the land of Canaan.
Yeah.
That's the basic Bible story. But at the time, he couldn't do it because
he didn't have any way to get that.
No. I'm okay. Because at the time there was a righteous priest or king in Jerusalem or in Salem, which Salem means peace.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever, this city of peace that was occupying where eventually Abraham is gonna inherit, but he can't get that place until Melchizedek and everybody's out of the way.
Yeah, because you don't like usurp like a good guy
king.
Doesn't usurp a righteous king.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Salem. Anyway. Salem. I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
shalom. It's the same word as shalom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always forget that. The whole SH thing, Oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, like Islam. Anyway, whatever. But, okay, so we'll start off in Jasher chapter 17, where Abram is still Abram. He's been wandering around for a long time out there.
Yeah, just in circles.
Well, back and forth.
Just camping. He's just camping at places, like spending some time here, spending some time there. Just enjoying.
They had gone down to Egypt.
That's right, a few times. Right. Doing all that weird trickery. Yeah,
Sarai had gotten Pharaoh given him one of his daughters, who ended up being Hagar, and
I don't think that those details are in the traditional biblical account.
I don't know
who Hagar's.
Yeah, she was just her handmaid.
Yeah.
But at the time, we'll just go into it real quick that Sarai she couldn't have any kids. And she decided, hey, maybe we'll go over this in the next one. But anyway, so there came a time where at the very end of chapter 17, verse 17 through 20. I don't know if you want to read that.
Yeah, at the time the Lord appeared to him, and he said to him, I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will greatly multiply thy seed, and this is the covenant which I make between me and thee, that every male child be circumcised, thou and thy seed after thee.
I'll read that. And
okay.
At 8 days old shall it be circumcised, and this covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant.
And now therefore thy name shall no more be called Abram, but Abraham. And thy wife shall no more be called Sarai, but Sarah.
And I will bless you both, and I will multiply your seed after you, that you shall become a great nation, and kings shall come forth from you. All right. So that's the promise that he's given, But the sign of the promise is that every male in the family be circumcised, which is, just basically how do you just cutting off the foreskin, the skin. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get into too much detail.
This is a family show.
Well, anyway, it's not even. It's just this weird thing that for some reason God. I just don't. It's just weird.
Yeah, you gotta think to yourself where that where did that come from? Like why? Like I want to think of the most creative way to have them show that they're my people. What can
Well,
I have
maybe
them
it's
do?
because where do children come from? Where's seed? So it's a constant reminder
Sure.
to the different men. Every
This is what
time.
this is for. This is why you're doing this. Because you're building the kingdom.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So they go right to the spot, and and this is a sign to you that I will bless you both, and I will multiply your seed after you, and you shall become a great nation, and kings shall come forth from you. So it's a literal way to
Yeah,
of a literal mark
no kidding.
upon
I haven't thought about it that way before. Yeah.
So anyway, so there you go. And so that's at 8 days old. So in chapter 18, Abram rose and did all that God had ordered him, and he took the men of his household and those bought with his money, and he circumcised them as the Lord had commanded him. All of them. Okay, there was not one left whom he did not circumcise. And now Abraham, he got his name changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Him and
Officially.
his wife, because of the covenant.
Yep.
So there's a new name kind of thing,
Yeah.
there's
Which it doesn't talk about why, but
that happens in a lot of religious things in Egypt and all kinds of different things.
and even when you're even like in coronation too, right? Coronation ceremonies, kings get a new name.
Mm-hmm.
Popes get a new name.
Yeah.
Wizards get a new name.
Gandalf the Grey. Or the White, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know.
You're right. I think that's, they get a new name.
And Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised in the flesh of their foreskins. 13 years old was Ishmael when he was circumcised. Guess where? In the flesh of his foreskin.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't in somewhere else.
Okay. So that happened, right? And so now there's this new covenant. This is the sign of the covenant, which is kind of weird because, anyway, it just.
So it is.
I'm sure there's deep meaning to it or whatever or not. And supposedly, anyway.
I wonder what the slaves in the household were like. Do you
dude,
hear about what we have to do today? Like, yeah, Master Abraham made a covenant with an angel, and now we all have to do this.
Well, yeah, but they're slaves.
I bet he said, "As for me and my house, we will all
cut the foreskin."
cut the foreskin.
Dude, but anyway, but he was obedient to it.
Yeah, he.
And Ishmael, his 13-year-old.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Ishmael's
I wanted to tell you a little bit about Ishmael real quick, because Sarai, who's now Sarah, she couldn't have kids. They're getting into their old, in their 90s or 80s, but she had gotten a handmaid given to her by the Prince of Egypt, or the Pharaoh of Egypt, and taken her with them as they whenever they left Egypt, and then what's her Sarah's like, when Sarah saw that she could not bear no children, she took her handmaid Hagar, whom Pharaoh had given her, and she gave her to Abram, her husband, for a wife. And then she's like, "Behold, here's my handmaid Hagar. Go to her that she may bring forth." Okay, this is one of the weird things. "That she may bring forth upon my knees, that I will also obtain children through her."
Oh yeah,
There's this old way. No, but there's this old way. Okay, what they would do is that as the lady's giving birth, the wife would sit, with her legs kind of open, and then the person that's giving birth would sit on her lap.
Oh gosh.
This is but and then so as she gave birth, the baby would come out and go down
Just symbolically.
symbolically. So she was giving birth for her. Anyway.
Yeah, you could have just did without all that, and like, let's just say that I sat on you. You know,
Well,
or
anyway,
that you sat on me.
So, and then after, there had been some problems once what's her name conceived, once Hagar conceived, because she's kind of like, hey, well, the Lord's chosen me. You know, I don't know what he's doing with her, but
Yeah, totally.
You know, and then Sarah started like kind of beating her and was not nice to her, and Hagar ran off.
She fled.
And then in the desert, an angel appears to her and says, "Hey, you need to go back. God's going to make a great nation out of your child too." So she ends up going back and submitting to Sarah and stuff. But then finally, after 13 years, not yet, but okay, I don't want to,
Okay,
but it's been 13 years later, so Ishmael's still living there. That's the child that Hagar has.
Yep.
And he's now been circumcised along with his father and the whole household. And this is right after, and then all of a sudden in verse 3, read verse 3.
Oh, okay, yeah. And in the third day, Abraham went out of his tent and sat at the door to enjoy the heat of the sun. We all enjoy that.
Feels good.
During the pain of his flesh.
So he had just been circumcised. He's like out there kind of like, oh.
Like he's just kind of like, I don't know, like suffering, like numbing it down.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just enjoying.
My biggest worry would be like, how do you make sure that there's no infection?
Just take a chance, I guess.
Do you throw salt on it?
Probably had some
salt on the wounds.
Probably
man.
had some methods.
Okay. And then in verse 4,
and the Lord appeared to him in the plain of Mamre, and sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him. And he was sitting at the door of the tent, and he lifted his eyes and saw, and lo, 3 men were coming from a distance. And he rose up and ran to meet them, and he bowed down to them and brought them into his house. So 3 angels come.
Yeah. Now, one thing is that this is like Abraham's thing, though.
Is hosting angels?
Well, not just, but whether or not this was whether or not they're angels or not, Abraham was always good to strangers.
Yes. There's a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Of doing him doing this.
So in the Bible, or is it in Josephus? Dang it. One of those accounts, he doesn't even know
that it's an angel.
That it's angels.
It's in Josephus.
Okay. I know. I'm just trying to find where
you marked the words at.
Yeah. That's the sacrifice. Well, let me just look real quick.
I didn't mark it.
I know I have it. Let's turn to the antiquities, Jewish antiquities.
Let's let Josephus tell us a story.
Tell us a story, Joe.
Good old Joe.
Josephus. Okay, so it's in chapter 1. I know that much.
Or book 1?
Well, yeah, book 1. Oh wait, that's the. Abimelech. Okay. What was I looking up?
You wanted the story of Abram.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. Okay, when God had thus resolved concerning Sodomites. Okay, Abraham, as he sat by the oak of Mamre at the door of his tent, saw 3 angels, and then this is, and thinking them to be strangers. he rose up and saluted them and desired they would accept refreshment and abide with him. To which they agreed. He ordered cakes of meal. He
Hooked them
entertained them.
Yeah.
But of course, the important thing is that he thought that they were just strangers passing through.
He didn't realize he wasn't like kissing up to angels.
Yeah, because of course he would feed.
Yeah,
he would feed angels. I mean, or at least you think they would.
There's even one of the stories of Abram hosting an angel. That I think it's out of the it's a Talmud story. Is an angel comes and then Abram, like always, thinks it's a stranger, right? And he comes into his house and he prays a prayer that wasn't. He prays to a different god.
Who does?
One of the angel does, like the guest prays to a different god, and I think it was to the fire god. He prayed to the he worshipped fire, and one of Abram's like servants or something was like, why you got to get him out of here? He doesn't,
he's worshiping the wrong god.
Yeah, and Abram basically, said no. He can worship who he wants. We still have to treat him well and take care of him while he's here. And then that was the test. And then the angel all of a sudden revealed, "I'm an angel, and like you pass a test, and you kept me and you took care of me even when you thought I was a fire worshiper."
Interesting.
These are the stories that some kids grow up hearing.
So some kids, yeah. Not many though.
No, not
a small percentage of the world. So anyway, so he had made them a good feast, bread, washed their feet. Did all this stuff. This is just the way Abraham was. Whenever he met, I actually have. Oops, that was. Did you hear that noise?
I did.
Okay.
In hindsight, I get your point.
Yeah, just in case.
I've been secretly waiting to come over to your house here and have you wash my feet before we start the podcast.
Like, you've yet to wash my feet. Well, guess what, Brandon?
I've
Today's the day.
You wear sandals, everyone, so I know how your feet look.
Like, you got these freaking claws. So anyway, he treats them good. And then they kind of say, "Hey, your wife Sarah's going to have a kid." And in the Bible, this is where she laughs.
Yes, right.
She kind of overhears him. She's like, "What? How?" And then they're like, "Hey, we heard that." She's like, "I didn't laugh."
Yeah.
Anyway, and then they reveal that they're angels. But so they I will return to thee according to the time of life, and Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And the men afterward departed and went their way to the places to which they were sent. And then it starts talking about Sodom and Gommorah.
Goes right into Sodom and Gommorah. Yeah.
Now this is in the Bible. They reveal their plans to Abraham.
Okay.
And they say, "Hey, dude," or actually back in Josephus.
Okay.
I mean, I know this isn't the Bible, but we might as well just go extra biblical. About this time, the Sodomites grew proud on account of their riches and great wealth. They became unjust towards men and impious towards God, insomuch that they did not call to mind the advantages they received from him. They hated strangers and abused themselves with sodomitic practices. Mm-hmm. God was therefore much displeased with them and determined to punish them for their pride and to overthrow their city and to lay waste their country until there should neither plant nor fruit grow out of it. So they had been blessed with this really nice area, and but they were just total jerks.
Yeah, they took their wealth and they just really lived it up, and
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to kind of talk about how Abraham was to strangers is because there's kind of a
There's the contrast there between Abram and how he treated people versus what was common in Sodom.
yeah,
I bet Gommorah-ites were like, no, that's Sodomites. That's not us.
dude, freaking yeah, they gave us a bad rap, but so now whenever you think of Sodom and Gomorrah and the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, everybody always thinks of sodomy, and that's the actual popular term
Sure.
or the legal term, which is kind of how to say one of the explanations is that it's a way of having sexual acts without procreating.
Yeah.
But also in a gay way, a homosexual way, and different, So, but
yeah,
in modern terminology, it totally just has come down to mean total, homosexual relations.
that's all
or
it means.
whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't mean.
Yeah, it doesn't even mean like the other. So,
which in this it doesn't. This doesn't support that.
well,
Jasher doesn't support that.
It doesn't, or it goes into a lot more detail on what the sin of Sodom was.
Yeah.
Let's go for it then. In verse 11 of chapter 18.
Yeah, so, and in those days, all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah and the whole 5 cities were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. And they provoked the Lord with their abominations, and they strengthened in aging abominably and scornfully before the Lord. And their wickedness and crimes were in those days great before the Lord.
Okay, so this is the first of the little stories that they tell of their wickedness. And this does go along with the abominations, the sexual escapades or whatever that they would.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. It's not just like, it's not just homosexual, but it's like everything.
No, but I'm saying, but this goes along with, but under sodomy's kind of doing these acts without without the procreation being involved or whatever.
So, and they had in their land a very extensive valley, about half a day's walk, and in it there were fountains of water and a great deal of herbage surrounding the water.
Dude, herbage.
And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times in the year with their wives and children and all belonging to them, and they rejoiced there with timbrels and dances.
Okay, so if you ever have timbrels and dancing, that's bad. That's a bad start. Because I think in the book of Adam and Eve, those people down below that were trying to coax the people down from the mountain, they used timbrels and dancing.
That's very.
Hey, if you go to a party with timbrels, you better be ready to have a good time or get the heck out.
Yeah, you're gonna get in trouble. And in the time of rejoicing, they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' wives, and some the virgin daughters of their neighbors, and they enjoyed them. And each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of his neighbor, and did not say a word. So they'd had a good time.
So they're basically just this big orgy.
Yeah.
That's what and they're like, hey, that's my wife. What are you doing with my wife?
That's my daughter.
So anyway, so this is the first of the things that they're doing. 4 times a year, they would have this huge orgy party.
Yeah.
Dancing, timbrels, and they'd swap around.
Yeah.
Like they're like swingers, I guess.
Yeah, it's a huge festival.
I mean, but there was nothing. I mean, and according to this, it was just like the daughters, anyway, the virgin daughters. I mean, It was just everything goes.
Yeah. And they did that from the morning to night.
Yep, and then they went home and
returned back to normal.
And they did this always 4 times a year.
Yeah.
So this is part of that's the first thing that they were doing, having this kind of.
Yeah, that's why people would move to Sodom. What was this? Gommorrah or was this Sodom?
This is both people of Sodom and Gomorrah.
This is why people would move there. This is like one of the benefits of moving there. Like,
I guess.
Okay, so the next one
Okay, so
is in 16, right?
yeah, and this is interesting because
This is the contrast with
well, there's like people are trying to make a living, and so also this goes from the sexual thing to this just being mean to outsiders.
yeah. Also, when a stranger came into their cities and brought goods which he had purchased with a view to dispose of there, the people of these cities would assemble men and women and children, young and old, and go to the man and take his goods by force, giving a little to each man until there was an end to all the goods of the owner which he had brought into the land.
Yeah. Okay. So
That was kind of worded a little weird, but
yeah. Well, so and then whenever they would take all the stuff and then they'd give everybody some of it, just a little bit of it, and then all of a sudden the owner that was trying to sell the goods would be like, "Hey, give me back my thing," and then they would come up and they would come up and they'd each show him the little which they took from him, each person, and taunt him, saying, I only took the little which thou didst give me. And wait. So like, hey, what do you mean? You gave me this. This is just a trinket.
mm-hmm.
Like if we didn't, but everybody would have some, so they would taunt him. And when he heard this from them all, he would arise and go from them in sorrow and bitterness of soul. And they would all arise and go after him and drive him out of the city with great noise and tumult.
Yeah, tumult. They would
they just mock, like
chase him out of the town. You're greedy.
Get out of here! You were coming here to sell us your stuff. You raising the get out of here. And they'd all keep it. So they had this little trick they would do.
Yeah, they're jerks.
So he couldn't. So suddenly, it's like it'd be kind of like if you came and stole my stuff, I could say he stole all my stuff. All of a sudden, they'd give it out to everybody, and so he couldn't. It's one thing to confront one person. All of a sudden, you have the whole town you have to confront. It's just this is like this
whole,
weird trick they would do.
Everybody cheated on the test versus one person cheated on the test. It's like
yeah.
Bad example, probably, but yeah, it's a good strategy. I do that all the time.
Well, I'm saying it would spread it out to where he had nothing he could do. There's nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, they were. What is that? They were basically like it was like a combination. They were all in together. Like they were all part of the
yeah.
And
so they would get all of his goods for free, and drive him out.
That's why you don't go try and trade selling or merchant being. That's why merchants. Why would they even go? Just stop. They probably heard about their 4 times a year festival. Like, these people are really fun.
Like, hey,
I'm gonna go and bring them all kinds
like,
of
oh,
timber.
it's about that time. I'm gonna bring them
timbrels and stuff, and see, they might need more timbrels.
Yeah, hey, you can never have too many timbrels. But so then there's another story that they share, and this one's kind of a one with this guy. There's a guy that is going through Sodom and Gommorah, and the sun's starting to set, and so he's getting ready to just settle down for the night. Nobody will let him stay anywhere though.
Yeah, he's just leisurely going on the road.
He says he remained in order to abide during the night, but no one would let him into their house. But at that time there was this wicked guy named Hadad. And he saw the traveler in the street.
You think he was a dad?
He was a dad?
Yeah, dad.
With a name like that?
He better be a dad.
Hadad. So he saw this guy out there, and he's all like, but and he's like, hey, what's going on? And the guy's like, I'm traveling from Hebron to Elam, where I belong. and no one would suffer me to go
Yeah.
to their house, though I have my own bread and water and straw and everything for my
Yeah.
ass.
Yeah. He would have the food for his donkey.
Yeah.
Like, you
And
know,
I'm short of nothing, but nobody will let me stay anywhere. And his dad's like, hey man, all that thou want shall be supplied by me, but in the street thou shalt not abide all night. Okay. Did it mention that he had already? Oh no, it didn't. Oh yeah, it did. Oh, one of the things though, the keys to this guy is that the man was from Elam, and he had a ass, a donkey, I guess, and it carried a fine mantle of diverse colors, like this really well
okay. He had
crafted,
like a nice.
like I don't know if it's a saddle or a carriage or
Okay. Yeah.
whatever, but it is beautifully crafted thing. So that's one of the keys and it's got this nice cord, that would pull the
Yeah.
donkey or whatever.
It's a nice.
And so his dad saw that whenever the guy's out in the streets, like, hey, dude, that guy's got whoa, that's a mantle of diverse colors.
Yeah, that cord is awesome.
Yeah. And so Hadad brings him to the house. He takes the mantle from the ass with the cord, and he brought that stuff. The donkey's out in the stable or whatever, but he takes that so nobody else can take it to his house, to keep it safe, supposedly. And then he gives, the straw, feeds the donkey and everything, and the traveler eats and drinks, and he abides there that night. Gets up in the morning, ready to go. What happens? Hadad says to him, hey, wait, man. Comfort thy heart with a morsel of bread and then go.
Make yourself comfortable.
And then they're talking and drinking and all day and everything. And when the man arose to go, Hadad said, hey, the day is declining. You better remain here tonight, and just be comforted. We wasted the day.
Yeah, we had
so
fun.
much fun talking, and
I need more time.
And he pressed him. This is part of his plan. He pressed him so that he tarried there all night. And the second day he rose up to go away, and Hadad tries the same thing, and he remained and ate with him also the second day. And then the man rose up to leave, and Hadad tried the same thing. He's like, hey, the day's declining again. Remain. But the man,
oh, we partied again, sorry.
And the man's like, no, I gotta go. He rises up, he saddles his ass, and whilst he was saddling his ass, the wife of Hadad's like, hey man, this guy sat here for 2 days and ate our food and drank our wine. And then the guy's like, Hadad's like, be silent. I like that. To her.
That's right.
He's like, in verse 27, Hadad said to her, be silent.
Yes.
But he's like, dude, I got a plan. Hey, wife, shut up.
Like, this is all according to plan.
I've got a freaking plan. And then the man saddles asked to go and asked Hadad to give him the cord and the mantle to tie upon his ass, his donkey.
Yeah.
And what does Hadad say to him in verse 29?
This is where he says, he goes, what sayest thou? And he said to him, that thou, my lord, shall give me the cord and the mantle made with diverse colors, which thou didst conceal with thee in thy house to take care of it. And Hadad, that wasn't it. And Hadad answered the man, saying, this is the interpretation of...
Oh, yeah, okay, that's what the man... Hadad says, what? He's like, hey... Okay, the guy's finally like, okay, well now... Okay, I got my horse, or my donkey all ready and everything. Now give me the cord and mantle, that you put in the house for safekeeping.
Yeah,
thank you because I'm ready. But and then in verse 30, sorry, I gave you the wrong one.
Yeah.
Hadad says to him,
and Hadad answered the man, saying, this is the interpretation of thy dream. The cord which thou didst see means that thy life will be lengthened out like a cord. And having seen the mantle colored with all sorts of colors means that thou shalt have a vineyard in which thou wilt plant trees of all fruits.
So he asked for the cord and the mantle, and then all of a sudden Hadad is acting like this is the meaning and interpretation of your dream. So the man answers saying, "Not so, my lord, for I was awake when I gave thee the cord and also the mantle woven with different colors." That was like 2 days ago. I was awake. I brought that in, and which thou didst take off the ass to put them for me. And then Hadad says,
well, and he charges him, right?
Well, no. Hadad says, "Surely I've told thee the interpretation of thy dream, and it is a good dream." It's like, dude, don't be upset. This is a great dream you had, and this is the interpretation. And then now in verse 32, he says, "And the sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver for my interpretation, but I like you and I will only require 3 pieces of silver."
You got hooked up. I'm gonna hook you up. You seem a little distraught. You seem a little confused right now. That's fine. I'm gonna give you a 3. I'm only gonna charge you 3 silver for this.
And then the man's like, "What? No, I was awake." And so they start fighting about it. And so he brought Hadad to Sirach, a judge of Sodom, and
It's all combinations again.
the man this is where the judge gets involved, and the man laid his cause before Sirach the judge, and they told the whole story, and then when they laid out, the judge is like, "Hey, Hadad's telling you the truth. He's famed in the cities for our accurate interpretation of dreams." And then the man again in 35, he says, "But it was in the daytime that I gave him the cord and the mantle. This wasn't a dream." And then Hadad gets really, he's like, "You know what? I want the full four pieces of silver, and I'm charging you for the room and board too that you took."
Like, you're so ungrateful for what I did for you.
Like I gave, and then they just finally the judge gets tired of him and sends him out. Both of them, doesn't make a judgment. He's like, "Get out of here, you guys." Anyway, so
and the man just continued his journey.
Yeah, what happens is, he kicks him out. They both quarrel before the judge, and the judge gave his orders to his servants, who drove them rashly from the house. Now, in verse 41, "And they went away quarreling from the judge. When the people of Sodom heard them, and they gathered about them, they exclaimed against the stranger, and they drove him rashly from the city." They took his side. They're like, and they get him out, and the man continued his journey upon his ass with bitterness of soul, lamenting and weeping, and cord and mantleless. So what's his name got that beautiful mantle with the nice cord.
Just don't go to Sodom,
dude. Stay away.
You'll get nickel and dimed for everything, bamboozled. You'll get and they're all in it together.
Yeah,
they'll charlatans.
They'll take the side of. So that's one. That's another. That's one. That's another story. Now there's another time where Eliezer comes to Sodom.
Oh, that's right.
Because as we know, Lot, the nephew of Abraham, is living in that area.
Yeah, he settled down there apparently.
This is the place whenever Abraham and Lot were kind of having some trouble with kind of the people in the surrounding area. Abraham's like, "Okay, we'll go move."
That's right. I mentioned that earlier.
And Sodom and Gommorah was a really nice place. I mean, they had good, it's a nice plain where there's all this grass for the animals to eat, and at least
they have watering places with herbage surrounding the water.
Dude.
Yeah.
So So, oh, there's also actually before we get to Eliezer, there's this weird thing they kind of mention in here, um, and they talk about the different cities because there's Sirach.
Well, the judges of the cities.
Oh, well, but I'm saying Sodom, Gommorah, Admah,
Adma,
and
Zeboim.
Zeboim. Those are the four cities. Um. Anyway, but there's this whole thing in that was kind of like, what are they talking about? Okay, but by the desire of the four judges of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, they had beds erected in the streets of the city. Okay,
Okay.
this is like this weird torture thing. Like they had a torture, some kind of rack thing.
Yeah, like a
If a man came to these places, they laid hold upon him, and this is by order of the judges,
yeah.
and brought him to one of their beds, and by force made him lie in them. As he lay down, 3 men would stand at his head, and 3 at his feet, and measured him by the length of the bed. If he was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him at each end, and he cried out, and they would not answer him. So they were stretching.
Yeah.
These beds were made to either stretch somebody, torture and this is by the order of the judges. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together the 2 sides of the bed and crush him until the man had reached the gates of death. And if he continued to cry out, they would answer him, saying, "Thus shall it be done to a man that cometh into our land." So there's some kind of torture going on.
Yeah.
And when men heard all these things that the people of the cities of Sodom did, they refrained from coming there. So there was like they were getting a really bad rap. They're like, dude, they'll freaking torture you. And it doesn't even necessarily punish that you're punished for anything.
No, they don't. If you're a stranger and they don't really want you there, they don't take care of it.
Yeah. So, this is one interesting story too. Okay, in verse 8.
The poor man.
Yeah.
So when a poor man came into their land, they would give him silver and gold and cause a proclamation in the whole city not to give him a morsel of bread to eat.
Yeah.
And if the stranger would remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death all the people of the city would come and take their silver and gold, which they had given him.
So, yeah, and then and those that could recognize the silver or gold took it back, and at his death they stripped him of his garments, and they would fight about them, and he that prevailed over his neighbor took them, and then they just bury him under a shrub somewhere in the desert.
Like there's
so this is like a game they would play. A poor person, and all of a sudden, say the poor person is begging.
Sure.
And they'd be like, yeah, here, have some gold. He's like, oh my gosh, and all of a sudden the next person would come along, oh yeah, here's some silver. And then all of a sudden he's like, this poor person, and he's like, all right, yes, thank you, God, and all of a sudden he runs out to go buy stuff, and they've already made, do not sell this guy any bread. He's like, I've got gold, silver, gems, all this stuff, but they're like, oh, they wouldn't sell him anything. So it was like this really cruel trick.
Yeah, these are like, I'm trying to think of the right word. These people were like
hateful,
sick.
Yeah,
in the head.
sick.
Like they were just like,
yeah. And they just sit there and nobody would sell to him. And then whenever he died, they'd take his clothes, like it was a game, and just throw him out in the thing. No regard for the life of others. I mean, but they'd like revel in it.
Mm-hmm. It was
like
fun.
watching these, like, watch this poor sucker. It's just weird. So now there came a time where Eliezer, who is Abraham's servant, who was a faithful servant.
Yeah.
He's the one that
Was given at the
by Nimrod, one of the two servants, and he's the one that told Abraham, "Hey, I overheard they're going to come kill you. Let's get out of here." And that's what cued Abraham, saved his life. And so Eliezer is Sarah sends Eliezer to Sodom to look after, see what's going on with Lot and everything. So, of course, Eliezer comes to the city, and he saw a man of Sodom fighting with a stranger, and the man of Sodom stripped the poor man of all his clothes and went away. Okay? Do you know this one? Do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the poor man cried to Eliezer and supplicated his favor on account of what the man of Sodom had done to him. And he said to him, "Why dost thou act thus to the poor man who came to thy land?" And the man said to Eliezer, "Is this man thy brother?"
I think that what he says here is kind of...
Is this man thy brother? Or have the people of Sodom made thee a judge this day, that thou speakest about this man?
He's kind of like, what do you care, man? He's not your brother. You're not a freaking judge. It's like a little kid, like, you're not even a judge. Like, we only,
And Eliezer strove with the man of Sodom on account of the poor man. And when Eliezer approached to recover the poor man's clothes from the man of Sodom, he hastened and with a stone smote Eliezer in the forehead.
So he throws a stone at him, and then what does he say? In 17, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And when the man saw the blood, he caught hold of Eliezer, saying,
Wait. Well, we'll read. Okay, so
he
hits him in the...
And so the blood was like copiously flowed copiously from Eliezer's forehead. And when the man saw the blood, he caught hold of Eliezer, saying, "Give me my hire for having rid thee of this bad blood that was in thy forehead, for such is the custom and the law in our land."
So that's these guys like just are total liars. He's like, "Hey man, like he not only did he throw a rock and wound Eliezer, but then
pay me to help you.
Hey, I just helped you, man. You had bad blood in your forehead, and people pay me for this."
And so then Eliezer wouldn't do it, and the man brought Eliezer to a judge, Shachra, the judge of Sodom.
Yeah.
And the man spoke to the judge, saying, I beseech thee, my lord, here's what Eliezer did, for I smote him with a stone, and the blood flowed from his forehead, and he is unwilling to give me my hire."
He's like, what? So they would use the law, though. See, that's the whole thing.
He's like,
well, you're not a judge.
He didn't deny hitting him. He just said, no, but I need to help him.
Yeah, they would use the law. They twist it but they would get away with using the law. The judges would actually back them up. So the judge, so he explains to him, and then the judge is like, "Thus, this man speaks the truth to you, Eliezer. Give him his hire, for this is the custom of our land." And Eliezer heard the words of the judge. He lifted up a stone and smote the judge, and the stone struck him on his forehead, and the blood flowed copiously from the forehead of the judge. And Eliezer said, "If this then is the custom in your land, give thou unto this man what I should have given thee, for this has been thy decision. Thou didst decree it." And then Eliezer stomps off. That's such a funny story.
They're like, no, you can't do that.
Okay. Like, Eliezer saw what was going on. He's like, "You know what, judge?" Chucks the rock, makes his forehead bleed, and he's like, "Hey, I just did a favor for you. You pay this guy. The money you would give to me, you give to him, and I'm out of here."
And he did that, and he left.
Mm-hmm. So there's another thing where they were using, like, it was just like they had the kind of the look of following the law. They would take things to the judges even, but the judges would side with the ridiculous ideas of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. So what does just Ezekiel 16:49, if I can find Ezekiel. Where is Ezekiel?
That's that one. This is that one verse, right? The sin of Sodom.
But I think they talk about like where's Ezekiel? There it is. 16:49 and 50. Do you want a soda? Or?
No, this is good right here.
Okay, this was the iniquity.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Ezekiel 16:49 through 50. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. Are we seeing this?
Yep.
And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore I took them away as I saw good. So anyway, that's but there's other ones where they talk about their wickedness of the judges and
like they had like they were really like
it's just, but you can see it right here, this corrupt
corruption is a good word.
It's a total corruption where it's kind of like the mafia, like where the judges are paid off. You can't get justice, but they want it to look like you're here in our justice courts.
Yeah.
How can you, when everything's rigged against the person? So so kind of going along with this, neither do they strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. And Lot had a daughter who married somebody.
Yeah, Paltith.
Yeah, and it's kind of this was after the whole thing where Abraham rescued these guys, from the kings of Elam.
Yeah.
And his daughter grew up, and one of the men of Sodom took her to wife. And in verse 25...
So a poor man came into the city.
Yeah.
And he remained there some time.
And of course...
They did what they always do, right? Yeah. They wouldn't give him any bread to eat, right?
Not a morsel of bread.
Not a morsel.
And it says until he dropped dead upon the earth, and they did so. So that's their whole plan.
Yeah,
they just love it. There's like, watch this idiot.
Mm-hmm.
He comes here into our city. How dare he beg for bread or whatever,
So Paltith, the daughter of Lot, she saw the man lying in the street, starved with hunger. No one would give him anything to keep him alive.
See, and I think that Lot is kind of living on the outskirts,
Sure.
It has him at the gate, so but on the outside of the city. So she might not totally. So she was raised with him. So all of a sudden, she marries a guy, and she's let's just say she's newly arrived to the city, and she's got but the guy's rich and they have all this money, and all of a sudden there's this guy out there outside of, when she gets the water, starving to death. She's like, what the heck?
Yeah, so she takes pity on him.
Yeah.
And she's like, she takes him in and gives secretly for many days, gives him bread until he revives.
Yeah, so her secret was that she would so she knew that she wasn't supposed to be doing this. Mm-hmm. So she would get a pitcher of water, put a loaf of bread in there, nice fresh baked bread.
Some good looking
fresh,
good bread.
Always fresh.
Oh yeah.
And
so
she
good, probably.
She would go over to fill up the pitcher, and on her way she would take the loaf of bread out, give it to him, slide it to him, fill up the thing, so then all of a sudden the pitcher, and she'd bring back the water.
So she knew enough to know that she's not supposed to help him out.
And she did this many days. Hey, what the heck? Why is Siri? What the?
Yeah,
my phone is spying on me.
Get that out.
I'm out of here. But so she does this many days. So, and in verse 30.
And so they,
Or 29.
the people wondered how the man had not died yet. And so they said to each other, this can only be that he eats and drinks, for no man can bear starvation for so many days and live as this man has, without his countenance even changing. And 3 men concealed themselves in the place where the poor man was stationed, to know who it was that was bringing him bread.
See, these guys are so bad that they're pissed that this
Not
guy
dead
hasn't died yet,
Yeah.
and they're like, we've got to get to the bottom of this. Not we should feed this guy or anything. They're like, we need to find out who's feeding him and punish them.
So
They're the worst.
Paltith, daughter of Lot, went forth that day to fetch water, and she put bread into her pitcher of water, and she went to draw water by the poor man's place, and she took up the bread from the pitcher and gave it to the poor man, and he ate it. And the 3 men saw what Paltith did to the poor man, and they said to her,
It is thou
you're
who hast
the one.
supported him. Therefore he has not starved,
Yeah.
nor changed in appearance, nor died like the rest.
And so the 3 men went out,
They're the worst.
and they seized Paltith and the bread, and which was in the poor man's hand. And they took her and brought her before the judges, like they always do.
Yeah.
And they said to them, this is what she did, and it is she who supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore he did not die all this time. Now therefore declare to us the punishment due to this woman for having transgressed our law.
Yeah. So.
And the people of Sodom and Gommorah assembled and kindled a fire in the street of the city, and they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burned.
So this is what happened. So they killed her for not letting the guy die.
Yeah, you don't help people.
Like, I just don't get this kind of. It's weird. It's like a sick group of people.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they did. It's
Like,
just not about just a bunch of people that have.
This isn't just like dumb pranks.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, this isn't like you got pranked. No, they're like they have their sick things, and then if you don't follow it, they'll kill you for it.
It's a good people there.
So, and the same thing happened in another city of Admah. There was a woman to whom they did the like. Traveler came into the city of Admah with the intention of going home in the morning. He was just staying there at night. Mm-hmm. He sat at the opposite door of this young woman's father's house, and as the sun set, the young woman saw him sitting by the door of the house, and he asked her for a drink of water, and she said, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I was gonna this day on the road and reach here when the sun set." You know, he tells the story, and I'm just gonna sit out here. You know, and then in the morning, I'm getting up and I'm leaving. And she goes into the house, fetches him bread and water. You know, it's what people do.
It's what you do.
And so, but then the affair became known to the people of Admah, and they assembled and brought the woman before the judges that they should judge her for this act. So they had laws intact, and
like you don't help them.
Yeah. Like, what the heck? Maybe it was anti-loitering laws, you know?
Yeah.
What I'm saying, this is like these kind of laws where, like, if you think about it,
we don't want anybody else. We don't need any.
Yeah, we don't need people who. We don't want people here who are begging. We don't want beggars. We all work for our food, so blah blah. You know, whatever. We earn our bread.
Yeah,
How
you're
dare
right.
they?
You're right. Most of these stories have been about, even the one where the guy had everything he needed.
Or we take
just because he didn't have a place to stay, and that was enough.
Yeah, but that guy. But I'm saying they have these no loitering laws, I guess, or hopefully you die laws if you loiter. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're just mean.
And so this lady got sent. This lady, the way they took.
Oh yeah, I like the way they do it. I don't like it, but
yeah. What do you?
But so the judge, everybody gets there. The judgment of death must pass upon this woman because she transgressed our laws, and everybody assembled, and they anoint her with honey from head to foot, as the judge had decreed. This was the punishment the judge. This is like the just judgment of this righteous judge. And they placed her before a swarm of bees, which were then in their hives, and the bees flew upon her and stung her, that her whole body was swelled. She was stung to death.
And as she was crying out, her this is where the Lord says, I've heard enough, right?
Yeah, the young woman cried out on account of the bees. I mean, so there's like hitting the beehive, and it's all
yeah.
and she's all swollen and
who knows what happened after that, but yeah.
But no one took notice of her or pitied her, and her cries ascended to heaven. So they're like, she broke our laws, man. Yeah. That's what she gets. She deserves
that's what she gets.
Every last bee sting. And like you said, verse 44.
Yeah, where's that? And okay, and the Lord was provoked at this and all the works of the cities of Sodom, for they had all the food they needed, and there had tranquility among them, and still would not sustain the poor and the needy. And in those days their evil doings and sins became great before the Lord.
See, so there you go.
That's almost like a rewording of the Ezekiel.
It says, pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. So that even this one says the same thing, that they had they had it all, man. Beautiful place to live, abundance of food, even tranquility. They got along.
Yeah.
But they hated the poor and the needy.
And so the Lord sent for 2 angels.
Yeah.
That had come to Abraham's house to destroy Sodom and its cities.
Yep. So the angels rose up from the door of Abraham's tent after they had eaten, that's how we started the story.
Yeah, exactly.
And
they had a specific task that they were there for.
And they reached Sodom in the evening. And when they got there...
That's right. Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom, and when he saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed down to the ground. So Lot wasn't hanging around inside Sodom.
Yeah.
So at least it's what it appears.
And possibly Lot, I don't know, but this is just my idea, is that Lot's kind of on the outskirts, like at the gate to warn people.
Sure.
Dude.
Don't go in there.
No, or
my daughter was in there.
You're a stranger? Well, here, stay at my place tonight, because if you go in there, you're going to get screwed. That's just speculation on my part.
Yeah.
So, but he's there, and he sees them. Okay, he pressed them he pressed them greatly and brought them into his house. So he's like, strangers, it's getting dark, because remember, this is at sunset. Bad things happen after sunset in Sodom and Gommorah.
Yeah, it's like a. I'm trying to think of it. It's like a
maybe this is the original like vampire werewolf.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like a haunted town.
Yeah, it's like this creep town. But he pressed them greatly and brought them into his house and gave them victuals, which they ate, and they abode all night in the house.
Here's the image I'm getting. I've been thinking. The last like 10 minutes. I'm like, what am I trying to think of here? If you've seen like there's they have like old movies or stories of like a small like a truck stop in the middle of nowhere, or like a small little town, and people come into town, and they're all nice people, and it looks nice and stuff. And then and then their true colors come out at night, or
Dude,
usually
this
like
would be a good movie.
Yeah, we should write a script.
No, but serious.
Gommorah or
Gommorah. So, but Lot's there. He's like, hey, guys, it's getting dark. Please come into my house. I'll feed you. Come into, but just get off the streets. Almost like he's grabbing them up before they have a chance to even be seen.
Sure. Yeah.
he's actually saving their lives, possibly. In the Bible, it says, what is 19, Genesis 19, just really quick. Lot sat at the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up and meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. He said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, in your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. Kind of like, hey, you stay with, and they said, they're like, no, we're going to stay here. We're planning on going because we need to go walk around and find out, it says, nay, but we will abide in the street all night. Yeah. That was their plan. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and they entered into his house, and he made them a feast and brake unleavened bread, of course.
Yeah.
And they did eat. They feasted. So, but before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round about, both old and young, all the people of every quarter. Is that in here?
So I remember this. I remember this story, the way the account of the Bible. It made it seem, because when the popular story of this, what the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah is that they were all Sodomites.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, let me read. Do you want to read that part where?
Which part?
Okay. In verse 5 through 8, I think. Where all of a sudden, so the men find out, men of Sodom find out.
Yeah.
Hey,
he has guests.
He's got guests.
Yeah, exactly. So they called unto Lot and said to him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out to us, that we may know them. Yeah.
Okay. So and whenever they say know them, yes, they mean know them like in the biblical sense.
Exactly. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him. They said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly.
So it's like, well, why? So and then the explanation, like, what do they mean in verse 8? It kind of clarifies.
Behold, now I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they unto the shadow of my roof. So
he's kind of, that's where people like, okay, well, they're saying, let us know them, like, yeah. And then they're like, look, he offers his daughters, say, hey, I've got these virgin daughters, yeah. But don't, these guys this is part of, you don't touch these guys, so that's where it's like, they want to know him, they see these good looking angel or these good looking strangers, and they're like, we want to know them anyway. And in Josephus and the Jewish Antiquities, it also goes along the lines of what you're talking about. And when God had replied that there was no, and the angels came to the city of the Sodomites, and Lot entreated them to accept lodging with him, for he was a very generous and hospitable man, and one that had learned imitate. One who had learned to imitate the goodness of Abraham. He learned. Sure. He was raised by Abraham. You do with
strangers, you take care of them.
Yeah, you bring them in. And now, when the Sodomites saw the young men to be of beautiful countenances, and this to an extraordinary degree, they're gorgeous. Yeah. That they took up their lodgings with Lot, they resolved themselves to enjoy these beautiful boys by force and violence. So, and when Lot exhorted them to sobriety and not to suffer anything immodest to the strangers, but to have regard to their lodging in his house, and promise if their inclinations could be more govern, he would expose his daughters to their lusts instead of these strangers. Neither were they made ashamed. So anyway, in Josephus, it goes along the lines of kind of what they were. Yeah. But you remember that the idea that the sin of Sodom is this one thing is when you have a whole bunch of these different accounts of just how big jerks they are. They're just like totally corrupt and immoral and everything.
It's like, hey, it's been a boring few weeks, and we saw some strangers coming to the gate, and you took them.
Strangers, yeah.
Like we were.
We want to see them starve.
Yeah, we want to do we want to play our games with them.
Yeah, and whether whether it's to starve them, to use them in a sexual way, all these different things, probably everything. They're bad.
Yeah.
They're willing to, they like to see people die. They like to torture people. They have that rack. Maybe they want to stretch them out. Maybe they want to crush them, whatever. Maybe they want to go out into the forest,
into the herbs.
Yeah, and just watch them with their wives or whatever. These weirdos. The original swingers. Like, anyway, so in here, now in some of in the Midrash and stuff, there's like a story where the wife of Lot, she's like, I don't want to have these guys over here.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even offer him salt.
That's right.
And that's one of the token things you offer them. There's these different things you offer people, and salt was a big thing because you lose all your minerals and everything. But,
yeah, totally.
But salt was like currency sometimes too. But she wouldn't even offer him salt, and then she's like, so this is part of the whenever the judgment happens, whenever she gets turned into a pillar of salt. But we'll get to that. So she might have been like, hey man, we don't do that. We can't take these guys in. She might have been inhospitable possibly, but I don't know. That's just tradition. I think the Jewish people had they're like, okay, well, why would this happen? So they come up,
totally.
They over hundreds of years talking about it, and like
they come up with a lot of different possibilities of what happened there. And
so anyway, okay, so let's get back to, he pressed them greatly, brought them into his house and gave them victuals. And then the angels tell him, hey, Lot, dude, arise, get out of here, thou and all belonging to thee, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of this city, for the Lord will destroy this place. God's destroying this place. And there's this whole thing where Abraham was like, hey, if there's only 10 righteous people, will you spare?
Yeah, but it's in the Bible.
I know, but I'm just saying, they couldn't even find that many people, because God said, yeah, I'll spare the whole place.
Sure.
The point of that was that Abraham always had compassion. He's like, but come on, man, you can't just destroy the whole thing for the majority's wickedness.
Sure.
And so I'm just saying some of his compassion, but God wasn't even able to find that many righteous people. There was Lot, his 2 daughters, and his wife were the only ones that the angels saw fit to save, right? And I mean, it was so, like, Lot was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. The angels had to actually, in verse 49.
They laid upon the hand of Lot, and upon his hand of his wife, and upon of his children, and they brought him forth and set him without the cities.
Yeah,
they took him out,
escaped for their lives, and he fled, and all belonging to him. And in 51,
and the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gommorah, and upon all these cities brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven.
Yep, overthrew them, all the plain and all the inhabitants of the city. and that which grew upon the ground. And this is where, and Otto, the wife
Yeah.
of Lot, looked back to see the destruction of the cities, for her compassion was moved on account of her daughters who remained in Sodom, for they did not go with her.
Yeah.
Now that's one of the story in the Bible too. It talks about
She looked back.
yeah,
But it doesn't say why.
no, well, yeah, but here it explains that there was they had daughters and that had married sons.
Yeah, one of them was killed already.
And
though.
actually, I think in Josephus it talked, or possibly here, but he went and talked to his son-in-laws, like, "Hey guys, this place is gone." Sure. And the son-in-laws were like, no, I don't think so. And so all those daughters, so
it's just a mother looking back to her kids that she's leaving behind.
And for some reason, she's made a pillar of salt, whatever that means. And that's where the tradition, she denied them salt, so she became, and all this stuff. It's like this weird idea, but it's always been a mystery. Like, what the heck does that mean?
The way that I looked at it, and it could be wrong, but the way that I looked at it is her looking back, she might have because it mentions later on that Lot and his two daughters were in a cave. They fled to a cave, and so maybe Addo, the wife, because of her compassion, she didn't just look back. Maybe she went back, and she was
just destroyed.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, so
she wanted to try and hurry and get back, and then she didn't intend to stay. But because she
it was
timed
too late.
It wrong, and
it was too late. Yeah, because these angels were in such a hurry. They're they grabbed him by the hand. Let's go, guys.
Yeah.
And
the volcano had already
but she
erupted.
has this compassion, and she was destroyed. They call it a pillar of salt, whatever, And the oxen, which stood in that place daily, licked up the salt to the extremities of her feet. They would she became this pillar of salt, and the oxen would come and lick her all the way down to her feet, and then the next day that pillar would be up there, and it's been there ever since.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's like the things that we add to stories.
There's this place actually around Jerusalem or whatever, where there's Lot's wife, and it's pretty cool. It looks like a person, like a rock formation.
Yeah, okay.
And you can drive up there and see it.
Oh, cool.
And they call it Lot's wife. And it's supposed to be around the Dead Sea, supposedly. I don't, there's all these stories. That's salt, And
is it a pillar of salt, or is that a statue?
It's just it's not a statue. It's just a rock formation that kind of resembles. Yeah, it's not an actual pillar of salt. But anyway, and along the lines of the cave, that they were able to get in to avoid the destruction, because this might have been some serious destruction.
You can't outrun. I mean, this took out all these cities. This
you're talking about brimstone, rocks falling.
It's basically either a volcano that went off and took everything out in the whole area.
Yeah. Or
in some kind of impact. I'm not trying to get theoretical, but something. It wasn't just little. It wasn't fire, like a cloud that was raining fire. Some massive destruction happened, and so they had to get somewhere where they can be safe.
Yeah. So, and it was so bad that it was just Lot and his daughters, two daughters that were left. And this is a story that's in the Bible too.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you're always
what
the heck?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lot and his two daughters remained, fled and escaped to the cave Adullam, and they remained there some time. And then it says that Abraham rose up in the morning to see what had been done to the cities of Sodom and Gommorrah, and he looked and beheld the smoke of the cities going up like the smoke of a furnace. Just he, can see off in a distance. It's at least a day's journey. And he just sees smoke just billowing out.
Destruction.
And he's like, whoa. And then in 57, Lot and his two daughters remained in the cave, And they made their father drink wine, and they lay with him. And they said, for they said there was no man upon the earth that could raise up seed from them, for they thought that the whole earth was destroyed. And this is interesting because you don't get that from. They thought that this was the end of the freaking world, a new reset.
And that's where I get the image of like a impact or something. Or
yeah,
like
where it's like as far as they can see, there's nothing.
Yeah,
just smoke, billowing smoke out everywhere around them, and they're just like, well, we're the new Adam and Eve kind of thing.
Sure.
And the world reset again. You had the flood the first time, like that poem by whatever. He's like, the next time will be fire.
Yeah, that's right.
The fire next time. Who is that by? Anyway, it's some poem.
Well, there's a few.
Yeah.
That do that.
But that and so they were like, well, okay, well, I guess we'll have kids with their dad.
It's funny. The story's funny though, because
this must have been over a long time.
Yeah, because
the
way that it's written is like
here's like that night, like well, I guess this is it, Dad. Hey, have an extra cup of wine.
Yeah, they just were like, we're rushing to do this.
No, but I'm saying there might be the way they word it is like they thought the whole earth was destroyed, and they were just like, yeah, this could have been longer than you think. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not justifying it.
That's the thing. Do we ever have a point where Lot and his daughters come back?
Well, they end up becoming the Moabites, and
That's what I'm saying though. But did they ever reunite with Abram?
I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's never a reconnection here. So for all we know, like they were starting the new nation. It's not like.
Well, I'm saying
It's not like they ever go back and all of a sudden they're like.
You're talking about like
Abraham comes back and the daughter's like, crap, did we do this for nothing? Like there's more people still.
Like what?
Crap, what did we do? Like, oh, there's more, and they.
Well,
it's
obviously
like Abraham
not.
comes back and
no, it wasn't just like there's like a city over the hill. They're like, oh well.
Oh man, oh it's too late.
No, because but I'm saying their world was destroyed in that area. It's like people always talk about like the flood, and they're like, was it really a worldwide flood and blah blah?
Or
and it's like, or was it just the region? And who knows? But this was a region. But as far as they were concerned, it was everything. All the great cities. I mean, substantial cities, Sodom, Gommorah, the other ones were all everything they knew was destroyed. So. There you go.
Perpetuate the race.
That's right, man. So, that is, there you go. That's, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. A little different, more of a take, than just, well, they wanted to get to know the guys,
Well, that's all you know. And if you only know, and that was my biggest take from this is when you only take one account of this story, and that account only focuses on their sexual
innuendo.
Desires. Yeah,
it's almost like innuendo. Not even.
Correct.
It's like, well, they're saying this, so this means it's a big jump. It's like, well, it was all for gay.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, basically that's.
And so, when you read the whole like, oh wait, two angels come and. Within moments that they're knocking on the door, like, we want to know them. Where are they at? And then you're like, oh, biblical, no,
And it's not saying it's not. It's
correct.
But I'm saying, but they're even in the Bible, Ezekiel and different places, they talk more about, the bigger picture of all the wickedness.
Sure.
But people. The thing is that people lay it on that one thing
because it's an issue that they want to address.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, and it's like, so you're against that thing, but against sodomy, let's just call it.
Yeah.
But but neglecting the poor is fine with you,
Yeah.
of course. You're missing the big picture. I want to contrast to Abraham and his kindness to strangers, and then the cities of the plain and their cruelty to strangers.
And even the
And it would,
circumcision. The point that you brought up, where because at first I was like, so what? Why? Why did they choose that kind of marking?
no,
But you brought the point, like, though, like, well, that's to remind them of what they're doing, like remind them that But when you're thinking of this Sodom and Gomorrah, this, like, their 4 times a year festivals and how frivolous they were with, like, each
oh
other.
yeah, that it wasn't anything to them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So
this
there's
free.
contrast.
That's what I'm
even there.
saying, and that's where the sodomy, the whole idea of sodomy is bigger than just gay stuff or whatever.
Yeah, the contrast is they're this frivolous, no thought, we just want to just do everything to everybody with no commitments or anybody.
Mm-hmm.
No commitments, just like I'm trying to word this rated G, but versus a commitment and versus the building up the kingdom and stuff. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as Abraham and his covenant. So, anywho, well, there you go. There's some interesting stories, and you're just like, dude, these people are jerks.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't go to Sodom at nighttime.
dude, things change at night. Think about that. They're giving the poor guy all that money, and he's just like, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna eat like a king, and then they don't feed him
Or give somebody.
And I'm saying this place was so big too that's why the daughters were kind of, it wasn't just some small area, it's a huge area, because if it was just like there's this little area,
Sure.
and then there's another town up the street that's a different, no, that's not the way it was. This is a big area because they could, they were able to make people starve to death and stuff, that to make it to where they couldn't get to another town.
Yeah, there wasn't another option.
Yeah, or else they get to the next town and they're going to Sodom. The next town's Gommorah, and then the next town's,
and that's what would happen.
Amar or whatever.
A trader or a merchant would be traveling, and they're looking at the time. They're like, oh, I'm gonna be stuck here, aren't I? Like there's nothing else nearby.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Anyway, so there you go. Hopefully that gives you a little, different idea on how bad these people were.
But don't be the judge of them.
No, just be nice. Be nice to strangers.
The lesson of today's episode is treat people well. Take them in, take care of them, treat them nicely.
Yeah.
Don't treat them like a Sodom.
And you know what? The thing is that this story of Abraham, host and Lot hosting the angels and stuff also goes into myths, Greek myths, with these gods that would come and they would treat him well, like or badly, and all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Not knowing that they were the gods, and all of a sudden they'd get their reward or punishment.
Yeah, totally.
Like, who was it that was seeking after her daughter, Persephone, whenever?
I don't know.
But anyway, they took her, and these people took her in, and then the mom was trying, she was a goddess, but she was trying to help them out with their son. She was cooking the son to actually make him stronger, but they didn't know that. Anyway, it ends up kind of going wrong. But anyway, you never know if you're treating an angel or just some poor guy. So be good to each other. All right.
Bill and Ted reference.
Be excellent to each other.
All right. Cool. Thanks, Mark. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Okay. See you.
All right. Bye.